Hey guys, it's Jay Campbell from TRT Revolution and the Definitive Testosterone Replacement Therapy Manual, and I am here tonight, of course, with my amazing friends, Gerald Clark, the author of the Anunnaki of Nibiru and the Seventh Planet, Mercury Rising, and of course, Matt LaCroix in his book, The Suppression of Us. So we're here. I think this is the version. Is this 8th or the 9th episode of Decoders, guys?
This is going to be Decoders' 9th episode.
Yep, 9th episode. So we're moving.
And on my Seventh Planet channel, it'll be episode number 22.
Awesome. So we're moving along. We've got, we're going to talk about the Decoders of Truth group that we started the Facebook group a month ago. It's completely blowing up. We have more people that are coming in on a daily basis. They're dropping, truth bombs, knowledge, wisdom. We have seekers, advanced seekers who have incredible understanding of what's going on. And then we also have like newbies that have just become aware, literally within a week of joining the group. So if you're watching this show tonight and you haven't been exposed to that Facebook group, of course, Gerald will link to it, but we encourage you to come in. All opinions are welcome. Nobody is shot down. We definitely have a no negative policy. So if you do come in with an outlandish claim, theory, or whatever, please try to, leave some source material. And if somebody does question you, because you are going to get that, don't be antagonistic towards them. Just say, hey, look, this is just my theories or my beliefs, and I got them from there. Don't go after people. Gerald's pretty quick on the trigger. We just essentially have a no neg policy. So if you come in there spewing negativity or hate or anger, or whatever,
or slandering or disparaging anyone else, that's not necessary. Okay, let's stay.
No, for sure.
Focused on the light mission.
I mean, we all sometimes can be egoist or egoic a little bit in our retorts or our responses, especially if we're challenged, and that's fine. But just be cognizant of it. And if you see that you posted something, in haste, and we all again do that at times, just come in and say, hey, man, I'm sorry. I've reconsidered, and I don't want to cause enemies or do any of that. But anyway, the group is growing. And it's growing at a really rapid rate. The information in the group is amazing. I mean, we have some amazing people. We have Marlene, who has been classifying. She's got helpers. I'm sorry if I can't remember everybody's names, but thank you guys so much for all the work you're doing. I mean, honestly, Gerald Corn, it's becoming the second library of the Alexandria Library. It's so full of amazing information. Honestly, I would say probably within 6 or 8 months, guys, it might be the best collective on the planet. I don't know if any websites are going to have this kind of data. It's incredible, really.
Yeah. Can I point out that I've seen a trend with a lot of members on there, and I can point myself included, who, there's groups all over Facebook in this area. And from truth aspect, from if you want to just focus on the spiritual side, all the way to the most extreme conspiracy side possible. Everything in between, there's groups. And I've seen a lot of people in this group say that they've never had another group move them in this way, or see the kind of people that are taking part of this. And so I think what our group has done is it's maybe brought the most hardcore true seekers, the ones who really are the most passionate, into the same place at once. And I want to mention, I don't think Jay mentioned, but the group just surpassed 500 members. Right. So it's kind of a nice little milestone we got there. And they're not just 500 casual members either. We have members that are independent torches of truth completely in themselves now. It's very proud to be.
I want to chime in right there. Some people that have come so far in their path that it may be time for some of them to peel off, take what they've learned, and start their own groups.
I agree.
Branches of a tree, right?
Exactly.
Trees of knowledge and growing.
I think, and we'll talk real quickly about Rex. So, Rex, I think, will be back, everybody who's watching this. Rex Bear of the Leak Project, he's dealing with some stuff going on right now in his life. He's a busy character. He does tons of podcasts, and he is a seeker deluxe, and, we love Rex. But I think the goal for all of us, if I can speak for all three of us right now, is that, we definitely do want to bring more people that have amazing awareness levels and, interesting topics to discuss onto the show. Of course, as Matt says, this is a collective. This is a collaborative, and we can't grow and be better without having other personalities and other topics and opinions brought onto the show. So if you think that you can offer something very unique, and by the way, there are some amazing characters in the Decoders of Truth.
Absolutely.
I know would be, top-notch content. Please reach out to all three of us or any of us and say, hey, I'd like to come on to the Decoders of Truth, and here's what I want to talk about. And honestly, we'll probably bring you on. What do you guys think?
Well, I was going to say, this is kind of something unique that we've done in terms of, I don't know, vetting somebody and their talent and where they are on their spiritual path before they ever get to come on the show. We were watching all these people in the group, right? So this isn't like we're just going out and going, hey,
right,
that guy over there is getting a lot of traction and he's popular, so we're going to bring him over here and get a lot of traffic, okay? That is not what we're doing, okay? Exactly. If you've got the goods, okay, and you've got the will and the light, what's the word that I'm looking for? If you're inclined to share, with this and can communicate in a way where we all can understand it, reach out to us, like Jay said.
Well, I mean, let's use Matt as an analogy, right? Like, Matt wrote a book. He has no, before. I mean, now everybody knows Matt now, but look at Matt's path, Gerald, in 3 months. I mean, Matt has blown up in a way now where I have my friends that I barely talk to. They're like, man, that dude, Matt LaCroix, he's like, holy shit, man. He's like, where's that guy from? I mean, I get that 3 or 4 times a day. I'm like, hey, man, he's just in my network now.
Jay.
I swear to God, I do, bro. People are listening to that podcast. And, it's on the TRT Revolution Facebook page. It's the #1 most listened to of all my podcasts.
Hey, be sure I have a link to that so I can put it on.
Yeah, no, for sure. But, so Gerald and I are going to do one on Sunday night this week. And I'm going to, push it to the top, and we're going to go really, really deep, similar to what you and I did, Matt. And honestly, Matt and I didn't go as deep as we wanted to because it was our first time talking. And, we were kind of feeling each other out. But, Matt shared some really, really epic truths. And he really resonated, talking about the pharmaceutical system and talking about hemp and cannabinoids and all those things. So it was a really awesome show. But anyway, my point is that, as Gerald said, there are people out there that do not have any exposure for whatever reason. Maybe they don't want it, but they have amazing insights and truths that they can share with us. And that's what we want. We want somebody in our group who's literally with no exposure and 5 Facebook friends to come to us and say, hey, man, I got an amazing thing that I want to share with you guys. Let me on your show. And I know all of you guys are going to say yes. I mean, as Gerald said, we're not looking for, Facebook, internet celebrities or anything like that. We want people that have powerful truths that they feel that they can expound on and that they can, engage all of us and obviously everybody that watches us.
And there's some really significant, promising writers that are emerging out of the group as well, that I've been trying to encourage, and seen some of the writing they're doing, and maybe even future podcasts that they branch off and do on their own. I'm very proud of the people I'm seeing in there. And the Digital Library of Alexandria, I don't think people understand. I don't think this has ever been done before. The amount of documents we have cataloged in there.
There's no way that even us 3 can even go in there and read it all. It's that deep already.
We really have brought something together that is, 500,000 documents or something?
Yeah, well, I want to say, with that said, it's going to bring a lot of disparate chronologies and theories about history and all this stuff, and I want it to be a wholesome place where it's a dialogue, and we'll move it. Let's take 2 disparate pieces of information and see if we can find where they meet in the middle, or if one of them is invalid. Either way, whatever it is, So,
totally. Actually, totally.
I see a lot of people really blossoming in this group. In there, and essentially, you can think of it as group therapy, a place where you can.
It is.
You can talk about the weird things that your family won't talk to you about, that you cannot absolutely bring up at work, or you'll get fired.
Well, it goes back to our conversation the second week, and we talked about how people are waking up at a geometric rate, and a lot of people can't even understand or explain why it's happening to them. And so you're right. The group provides solace because they can go where they have other people of like mind and can, just like you said, just literally just pour their hearts out or their souls out or expound and face no judgment. right?
Well, that's the other thing. When you get to involved with a group where there isn't judgment, it's always interesting to watch what happens, how when you feel supported that way, they start asserting themselves and they start growing spiritually. And whenever you see the light coming out of someone else, you go, oh, I guess it's okay to have your light on so I can turn mine on. You know, just real simple analogy.
Yeah.
But that's happening in this group, and I really like to see that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, so let's just get into this. Gerald, I'll make the announcement. You finish it. So obviously, great stuff has already come out of the Decoders of Truth because Gerald's wife and my wife and another amazing young lady named Erica Vitra are forming their own show. And it's basically going to be called Femme. What is it? The Femme Posse, the Decoders of Truth Femme Posse.
I think it's going to be called Super Women.
Oh, super! Yeah, they came up with their own name. That was Gerald's name.
Names bouncing around till itself.
Yeah. So I mean, so the great thing is that these are three super empowered women, super heroines, and they're now empowered to take their message and their mission and their heroic journey to more women. And obviously, they're not like us, right? The beauty of them is they don't have the esoteric knowledge and the wisdom that we have, but they have amazing female, emotional, the feminine goddess, they encompass that. And so they can spread that message. And so many women need.
Well, I think
like that today.
I was just thinking about that. I think you're going to find that these three together with their exposure to the Decoders of Truth and living with people like us, Jay and you and my wife, and
right.
I think they're going to surprise a lot of people at the depth of knowledge they're going to be tossing.
Oh, well, I mean, they're empowered. All three of these women are massively
They bring
empowered.
a different perspective, though, is what he's saying, which is
really totally. I mean, Erica has traveled around the world. Krista has traveled around the world. Monica's traveled somewhat, but Monica has been to literally 20 to 30, empowerment week retreats, weekend retreat. I mean, so all three of these women have done the work, right? That's what we say, right? They've done the internal work, and now they're ready to give back. And all three of them have a service to self mindset.
Exactly.
A service to others mindset.
Right.
So it's like we won't spend much time on them because you're going to be seeing a lot from them. But we're all excited to help them. And again, share with them, guys in the Decoders of Truth group and online on YouTube who watch this, reach out to these gals. I'm sure they're going to get their show up and rolling very soon.
Yeah, I think they're going to be following the same model we are. They're very focused on people and the quality of the people that are being attracted to the group. So,
right.
So we're going to be, I think we're going to be the kind of company that recruits from within.
Exactly.
All our members switch over to them. We lose them all.
Well, but we'll grow some more, right?
So did you guys want to read a couple testimonials from some of the people? I think we've given the Decoders group enough coverage. I really do want to talk about your screenplay. I'm going to let you guys talk about it because I don't know how deep you want to go about discussing it because obviously we need to save some of it. But, my first comments is obviously I've read it. I didn't read all the way through the final version today. I skimmed through it when you sent it to me.
A lot of new things have happened since
you guys definitely made it better. I will definitely tell you that.
Yeah.
But I mean, so from my perspective, and I'll let you guys share, the majority of the message, but from my perspective, I really, no blowing smoke because they're my boys. I truly see this movie potentially, screenplay potentially as a blockbuster movie. It has all of the components. It has action. It has the right type of characters, the Gladiator, the 300 type stuff that people love and flock to the theaters for. It has an amazing, amazing, elaborate story. It's moving from a historical standpoint of Nibiru up into modern day, back into 400,000 years ago. So
Roman history stuff too in there too.
It's elaborate.
I want to say, I decided to do kind of like what Dan Brown did in the Da Vinci Code. He brought it, and lots of other writers do this too. They bring in as much truth and chronology and fact as you can, and make it fun and interesting. Okay, right. I tried to do. I don't.
Well, no, you've done. You're not tried. There's no try. You do or do not. You did.
We did.
So you guys both
Matt
did.
Talk about it. Matt came in 2/3 the way through and just jumped in both feet. It was an amazing writer.
I mean, honestly, I got goosebumps. I told Gerald this, Matt. I got goosebumps when I read it last week when he first gave it to me because I was sitting out with my meditation app and had my feet in the grass. And I'm reading it and I'm like, wow, man, this is, I mean, so anyway, I'll let you guys finish, but for the group and for our audience and stuff like that, Gerald and Matt are really on to something here. And, I'll let them expound on it. We just need to get the right person, get it in front of the right person. I think this thing has massive legs.
So I got brought into the project after Gerald was 2/3 of the way through the screenplay, and some of the elements that were missing were things like, what are these awesome camera scenes going to look like with spaceships coming in and planet scenes and things like that. And I wanted to bring in kind of to complete the vision that he started. He had all the foundation in there. I just kind of put the little ends together on each corner. And we've truly brought this thing together into a polished state where trilogies like Lord of the Rings and all of these epics, this movie is gonna, in my opinion, if we can get this vision to where we want it, it's gonna surpass even those.
When.
Yes, absolutely surpass those, because we're bringing not a story that someone would say, I wish that was kind of true.
This is the story of us.
To where they are going to just be in shock after, and like maybe just be sitting in the theater when the lights get shut off and just be still sitting there for a long time, unable to move.
Well, actually, think about
being hit by so much.
That's so awesome. So think of it like this, because it just hit me. It was like a bolt of lightning. What if, like with the Star Wars, with the prologue, right? What if the prologue was like, okay, everybody, this story that you're going to watch is not fantasy, or something like that. And you just have like an awesome voice, like narrating it right in, and then just suck them right in. Because again, remember, this is sold to the masses, right? And the masses you're never going to convert them all. But if there's enough people in the audience that say, hey man, I'm familiar with the mythos of the Anunnaki, it'll be enough to get everybody sold in. But I think that's cool.
Well,
there's a couple. Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
No, you go ahead and finish.
All right, so there's a couple scenes we have in early in the movie where, like in Iraq and places like that, where you get these giant chunks of truth that we just drop in with connecting things like the story of Noah's Ark and the Garden of Eden and a lot of the things in the Bible, and we connect them right back to, hey, maybe these things have been deliberately kept from us knowing, or even destroyed in many cases, and then showing this story that connects so many missing pieces of what we've been told and that hasn't made sense, and that this movie and Jerry has brought it together. Where, I mean, this is the first movie of a trilogy, so even at the end of this first movie, we totally connect these three major points: the aspect of what religion has done to this truth, the aspect of what basically the archaeological side of it, and then we also have like the New World Order side of trying to prevent us from knowing about it. So we hit this movie on every angle. So it's just a giant.
One of my favorite angles is the degree with which Enki's given an opportunity to explain his desire to establish a civilization, which he was been unable to do. Okay,
Beautiful scene.
And because he's on this remote planet and has this opportunity based on the potential to get some resources to do something with their atmosphere, he's wrestling with whether this is the right time and the circumstances to create a species that is dedicated to the tenets that he knew were eternal from the creator of all. So balancing that with the idea of slavery, I think that particular speech that we did and we published, Matt, that part to me was just epic because this is the part of the wrestling with the God spell.
Right.
What was the trade-off? Were we just to be slaves forever, or were we given something that really genetically jump-started us millions of years forward?
Right,
exactly.
And be at the consciousness level where we could participate in the merging of dimensions just like described in the Emerald Tablets, right?
And let's stop, hold on, Matt. Let's stop right there, Gerald, because you're right, and this goes to the Decoders of Truth with that long thread where all these people are hostile towards the Anunnaki. It's really, and Matt, you elaborate on this, but it's really just a lack of understanding or perspective of
I
what
think this
really
screenplay, not to interrupt you, I think this screenplay, Matt, tell me if I'm wrong, it touches on those very points and brings it to a place where I think the humans can actually understand it from their evolution of their consciousness standpoint in the big scheme of things, not going, he's the bad guy. Because I did this too. When I first started realizing, well, this one did this to who? The first thing you want to do is, who are they and who did what to who and what, how did they get there, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you read the Genesis and Enlil slaughtering people with diseases and cutting off the food and finally asking for a flood, right? And you're like, okay, that's the arch villain right there, right?
Right.
Yes.
And to Rex's credit, recently he just did a show on.
Yes, it was phenomenal. I watched it, listened to it last night.
Apocalypse, where Yahweh, Ra, you're all through.
Right.
First of all, those are two different beings, so that was
absolutely right.
Well, but stating that this being had been in this capacity as a great destroyer ever since when, Well, now you see that's true. So you want to make him the bad guy, blame him. And I went through this. Listen, the idea of what he did made me so mad. I wanted to tie him up and drag him through the street, just like out of the scenes from Troy.
Right.
I mean, I was really, really upset.
So Matt, expand on that then.
So, but well, I mean, it was. Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
I mean, if you look at you were talking about like in the forum, people were saying like, "Oh, are the Anunnaki bad or good compared to what they've done?"
Two guys are like having conniptions.
If you look at the human race, how would you categorize us? I know that we've been led a certain direction based on all the things around us, but we're on the scale of everything you can think of, from the most extreme barbaric to the most beautiful, loving you can imagine, right? So the Anunnaki are the same thing.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
within them, these major divide factions of dark and light, and good and bad, which is obviously a perspective to many based on whatever they feel at the time, right? I'm sure Enlil doesn't know that he's doing bad in many courses. Right. Maybe a lot of his decisions that he was going through were through anger, through revenge, through jealousy of his brother. He had and we bring that out in the screenplay. I have several scenes where Enlil is consistently showing his disgust in anger for all the decisions that are made. Anu often bends and allows Enki to have some kind of decision that will benefit him over Enlil, and that always angers him every time. And I think that anger has built up so much that I think humanity, in a way,
of course,
was taken out on that through much of this, and we're going to show that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I had so much fun with this screenplay. I did one of these once before, and I started out with some work that somebody gave me to start with, so it wasn't really mine to start with. And I tried writing on it for about 6 months. Put it in front of some investors, got egg all over my face, and didn't even understand why I was doing this. I could not see the path where doing this could lead to any kind of financial gain so that I could justify my time.
Right.
And when you get on your spiritual path, by the way, you do less of that. Whatever you're doing, try to justify it for financial gain. It's kind of an interesting.
my biggest war. I mean, well, real quick as an aside, and it's part of what we're talking to because I wanted you guys to address this. So I'm not finished, but I'm like 20 pages from finishing the Kabbalion, and holy, talk about a mind bender, right? And it's a perfect seed in my life to get this at this time, because as Gerald just said, I'm constantly, if the goal for me now, my end game is to ascend or to reach a spiritual path and a form or stage of enlightenment that I have control over my next avatar, then, what really is the pursuit of money about if ultimately you're not going to take it, right? Whereas spiritual enlightenment is a process that can continue through eons and simulations and whatever. So it does become confusing, but then the Kabbalions showed me or taught me that spiritual enlightenment is not the path for everyone, right? So the reality is that maybe for people like us who are hyper aware, that's what we want, but not everybody is going to choose that. And it's okay. And that's what's kind of blown me away, because it's that whole, as Matt said in the very first episode, the duality, right?
Yeah. It's free will.
Everything is a free will. See, this is the key. This is the key to free will. Is imagine, look at the internet. Look at the internet today. Everything is out there. Look at the digital archives we've stored up in a very short period of time. Listen, there's enough material there to last most people the rest of their lifetime.
For sure, multiple lifetimes.
Yeah, so
you'll ever need there.
So it's what was my point? I lost track of where I was.
You were just talking about how that's just a frequency.
So all of this
free will,
all this truth is out there, okay, and it's accessible. And the point that somebody on the Department or the Decoder of Truth site made about how you use your free time, when Matt brought this up at one point.
Right.
No, was how are you going to spend your time? All of your time. If you don't see that all of your time is connected with a spiritual path, there's not your spiritual path and then your real life where you have to go to work. Okay.
It should be the same.
Well, they will merge eventually, but because of duality, we separate them, right? So.
Well, I also think that, again, as Matt says, truth comes when truth comes, right? Like we're all on different learning pathways, and awareness comes when awareness comes. And some of us, I mean, Matt, to have the awareness that he has at his age is incredible, right? Because Gerald, you and I didn't have that awareness at that age, not even close.
Thanks, Jay.
No,
but
true.
I mean,
well,
it's true.
I think also with the Zolkin calendar from the mind,
right.
talking about universal consciousness coming. Well, how's it coming? Looks like
it's not fair. We're getting like you get a jump start.
You should have had to suffer more. That's all. No.
I mean, but he really.
He suffered enough. He told me this moose story today about a bull moose. I'm still shaking over the idea of this thing. Okay,
is it a worthy story to be putting on the Decoders?
Well, we put a show together. It was totally impromptu. Matt and I.
Oh, okay, I haven't listened to it. It's in that show.
We were talking about a screenplay, and when that was done, doing business, we started talking about our ads. Because we've been doing business kind of stuff, but we never really stopped and just had a chat, right? And I didn't even. And actually, this started. I didn't know the camera was recording. You know how this program will record automatically if you push one of the buttons, and you look up in the corner and go, oh, it's recording. You don't know, right? So,
awesome.
So we've been talking like, 20 minutes, Matt, or something? And I realized the recorder was on, and I realized we had just started talking about a common path we had as kids and how it led through this process of alchemy to our discovery and where we are right now, working together on a screenplay. That's so freaking epic.
Amazing, man.
So we did. So this turned into a show that Christa, of course, worked her magic on and brought in all the elements of a treasure-seeking path. I think it's called Alchemy and the Treasure Seeker's Path. Right?
That's awesome, man.
I know, Matt.
I can't wait to watch it.
Matt, you got a chance to watch it, right?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I can't believe all the every show she's adding more and more magic to it. But this show in particular, Jay, check this thing out.
I'm blown away.
It looks like it went through some professional.
Well, listen, I didn't tell you guys this. I bought after Christa told me what it was. I bought it. I bought Filmora, and dude, I can't even make the first thing out of it.
She needs to do you like a. There's tutorial documents on YouTube.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying she has skill.
She's very inclined. Okay, she likes that kind of stuff.
And she has skill. I mean, the average person is not going to touch Filmora with 400 YouTube tutorials and still learn. So anyway, she's amazing. But I'll watch that. But back to what we were saying, like with the Chameleon, like. The truth is, and again, this is not for everyone. And yes, you'll get this awareness at some points in your life, especially if you're in the Decoders of Truth and you're paying attention and this means something to you. But what blew me away in the Chameleon is the whole idea that everything is just on the same wavelength, it just at varying frequency stages, right? So love and hate, this.
I love that part. I love that part.
You're going to come back at some point and someone you hate.
It's all the same, right?
Love.
Yeah.
It's incredible when you see things through this hermetic perspective. And again, it's the master of masters. It's Mr. Thought. So, I mean, the reality is that this creature, avatar, Anunnaki being, higher dimensional, whatever you want to call Thoth, taught us the keys to the universe, to everything. I mean, it's there. It's, as Gerald says, it's out there. Pursue it. Want to understand it. Reach out. It's there. It's not even hidden. That's what's so amazing about this.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. Is all this truth is out there. If you choose to put your eyes on it, you will be initiated. You will come to the truth.
Yes.
If you choose to. Now, I wanted to say something about the Emerald Tablets.
Yes.
One of the things as a scientist in this document that's, for the doubters, it could be as early as the 1920s when it was created. For the others who believe that Thoth is telling the truth and it's a firsthand account from him, that's a whole nother group of people. And I'm one of those, by the way.
Of course. So
in that document, and I'll tell you why, just one little snippet of why. Okay. In 1924 or whatever this was, it was supposed to be decoded. Okay. Did we have string theory?
No.
The concept of a multidimensional universe.
None of it, dude.
Exactly.
Did we know how many dimensions there were? And did we have any idea how time related to those dimensions?
And there's the evidence right there.
Zero. We had nothing. Okay.
Exactly.
Nothing really. And here a document is that I decoded myself because I got pissed off seeing how somebody treated it with such disdain that caused me to go record it myself. And I wasn't going to even include it in my book. But I realized this was a truth from Thoth himself, and it resonated so deeply with me, I put it in there. And I went in and realized that the multidimensional theory that's described by Thoth, with the 9 parallel dimensions and 1 dimension of time, and the laws of creation of matter, guess what? Those laws coincide with our modern day interpretation of string theory and dimensional theory mathematically. How is that possible?
Exactly.
It's not.
So
People want to know where the proof is. The proof's right there.
Something like that, and then somebody equates that with a tabloid. I don't want those kind of people in Decoders.
No.
Just so you know, because the light is not in them, or it would be on. Okay, that's.
Well, I know what person you're talking about, and you know he's he's a pot stirrer, and you know he is a seeker. He's wise, but he definitely likes to stir the pot. You know who I'm talking about.
I know. Yeah. Listen, I'm not one. I don't like to disparage people.
Never.
If an idea is wrong, I'm going to call it out.
Absolutely, as will I.
And maybe I'm going to be wrong too, but I'm going to put my position. I'm going to say, here's why I think that.
Well, and I wanted to say, so let me say something and I wanted to put this in the very beginning of the show. So back to the Decoders of Truth real quick, and we're about to get into questions, and we have some amazing questions. But if you post a weird, disparate theory, an out there, outlandish, whatever, just have some source material asserting where you're getting your beliefs from. That's all we ask. If you're one of those guys, and Gerald's removed a few of these people, but if you're one of these people that come in and start attacking the Anunnaki or anyone for any matter, and then have this outlandish theory, and then somebody asks you, that's cool, man, where did you get that from? And then you don't post, that's not welcome.
And can I say something right here?
Sure.
I want to put something to bed. Let's put this on, stamp this and make this official so everyone can hear this.
Absolutely.
Sitchin, whenever someone's talking about the Anunnaki, they say Sitchin created the Anunnaki as a lie, right? There's a lot of this that's spread throughout the internet, and it's even spread into the Decoders of Truth to some extent,
it has.
right? And I want to say this. If you believe that, then know that there are many, many very independent, very well-known sources that are completely separate from Sitchin, that have nothing to do with him, that completely coincide with the story independently. And I'd like to name them. And Gerald knows these very well, and he's the one that came up with this list. And that is, you got to name the Atrahasis.
Right.
You got to name the
Enuma-Elish. Yeah,
and you got to name the Enuma-Elish. These three have nothing to do with Zechariah Sitchin. Let's make that clear. And that is, but that's it's a devious connection they tried to make where they made it up. Well, and so know that this is very real. This isn't some illusion that we've created. This is history. And that's why this screenplay is so important.
Go ahead, Joe.
First of all, I think Lloyd Pye did a wonderful job talking about this very issue.
Right.
People taking an axe to the root of the translator, the messenger, whatever. Okay.
Exactly.
And, actually, in general, what I want to say is a nugget of truth for anybody that's in this game. If you're out breaking another man's cup to make yours full, you're in the wrong, and you don't belong in the Decoders of Truth.
F off.
That is libelous. It's slanderous. It's defamation of character. We're not in that game. There's lots and lots of groups out there where you can go be like that and live in the allegory of the cave. We're not interested in that at all.
Yeah.
You know
so let me just add. So here's my take on Sitchin. Okay. And this is where all this disinfo, conspiratorial bullshit comes in at the very end. And we all know the disinfo agents that the Anunnaki and their factions have. But, at the very end of Sitchin's life, he had an office in Rockefeller Center, right? And so all of a sudden, he's intertwined with the Rockefellers because there was some stories about how, he was friends with one of them. And I don't know which one. Gerald, you probably know better than I do. But so all of a sudden, all of those people were like, he's a disinfo agent. He's with the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers are part of the Illuminati. They're eugenicists. So
you know what? What this brings up is irrespective of the source of the material. if there's a piece of truth in it that's for you, take it and throw it the rest of the way. But you know what? There's 90% of what the person might have done might be the truth for someone else, and you have no business disparaging him, preventing someone else from assimilating that material for themselves.
Well, how about the clown that has the website? And again, I'll disparage this guy, but the guy that has the website, sitchiniswrong.com.
Well, listen, that, like I just said about breaking another man's cup, by taking that action, setting up a disparaging thing like that as a portal for your way of, I'm a friendly debunker. This is like killing somebody with a butter knife, okay?
Yes.
It's dastardly, and if you think that's okay, go ahead. I think it's garbage.
Well, I've actually read, you guys ever read?
Affiliate with a person like that.
Well, first off, the guy's stuff is nonsense. He's clearly a paid-for plant shill, because I've actually read all of his stuff.
I know, I have too.
It's so broken.
I find it very non-intellectual.
It's disgraceful.
That's coming from me.
It's disgraceful.
Yeah, it is.
Have you read it, Matt? Have you actually seen?
Yeah. Listen,
don't waste your time.
If you can't see that he's an hired agent on behalf of Zionism, open your eyes. Okay, I'm going to say it out loud.
Okay, please say it out loud, because we do know there are people in the Decoders of Truth that are, quote unquote, aligned with him. So we'll just make this statement right now. And again, we're not here to judge.
Get out. Really, down.
Get out of our group.
Yeah, just get
out. If you
are
aligned with that guy, get out of the group.
That's right. That's what you know what? I'm so glad you took that stance, Jay, because I hate seeing dead heroes disparaged. I don't care if they were 80% right, 90% right, 60% right.
Exactly.
Who are you to be judging? What have you done to put out your truth so you can be judged?
Well, again, these people, that is the progressive virus at work. I've seen threads on Facebook going after the smart Sitchin supporters who are debunking this moron, and literally they all are like plants, or like little ants that follow up and attack and snip. They're snipping at the heels and snipping. And that's the progressive virus. That's our university system. That's
Well, I'll never mention this person's name, but his name does show up in my Nibiru orbital report, where I trashed him on VA 243.
Awesome.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Go ahead, Matt.
I'd like to make mention of that. The fact that our reality has been given to us incorrectly on our history and what's really true, and people are, when they come into this reality, of trying to learn what really is real, and I don't think people realize that how easy it is for a negative comment or somebody that's a plant to totally disrupt someone's foundation of what they're trying to build, right? So someone sees a video on learning about the Anunnaki, they start building a truth foundation, they start feeling comfortable, they start building a foundation on other things, and then someone comes along and says that it's all fake, made up, blah, 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 this, and then they just destroy all the work done. So it's not about questioning the truth, because objectively you always try to look at what's real and what's not real. But what we need to make clear here is there is a constant truth that exists in the universe. Now, if you look at, there are a lot of people that talk about this. Mark Passio talks about this. It's called natural law. It is natural order of the universe, which means there are constant laws. Those laws are like gravity, which means there's no flat earth, because gravity creates spherical bodies. Right?
Don't even say that.
But what I'm saying is there is constant truth. So what we need to do is we need to build this foundation of constant truth, which includes the Anunnaki, because there is massive amounts of evidence based on what we've been talking about today, along with many other things, that formulate that there is a story here, and we are uncovering that all together. So let's make sure we hold on to the foundation of what we know is true, and not let anything erode it.
I think, very well said. I'll just add, and Gerald, jump in here. But if you're in the Decoders of Truth, okay, and you haven't read Gerald's books or Matt's books or any of the other, seminal works that we've, referenced in the Alexandria Library, and you're going to take a stance about the Anunnaki being illegitimate, well, first off, get the hell out of our group. And second off, and most importantly, and this is primarily, educate yourself, dude. You can read. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on Facebook because you couldn't sign up. I'm so tired of people who don't read. Well, stop watching YouTube videos and read Gerald's book.
Well, Jay, it's funny you bring that up. I've been very frustrated as an author, knowing that probably only 3% of the world reads anymore.
Right.
Gotta bring back the books.
Crazy.
Gotta bring it back.
Crazy. Yeah.
Well, guys, when I wrote my book, the beautiful people that helped me publish it told me, Jay, listen, you know, and this was shocking to me and blew me away, but they were like, listen, man, you got to prepare for this. 10% of people that buy your book, this is the people that are bought in, will read past the first chapter. How about that for a statistic? These are the people that are buying your book. So that's where we're at in society. We are in a place now where people have been so tuned to watch this, you know, these screen spaces, that they've lost their ability to reason for themselves and pick up a book and read it.
It's the ability of, okay, I have this time right now where I have open, right? What do I do with this time? Do I sit down in this quiet environment with this book where it's just me and my voice reading this? Or do I do something where it's exciting, watching someone shoot and things blowing up and cars going by?
So true.
And so those are the things, and, those exciting things, all those that too. all those other distractions though, the ones that don't help us, those are the things we have to learn to avoid, and you have to grow to be able to avoid them.
But how mad do you guys get when you're talking to your seeker friends, the people that are truly resonating and are aware, and you say to them blah 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 about something, they're like, where do you get that? And you're like, you really haven't read the book? And then they say, well, not really. I've watched YouTube videos.
Jay, let me tell you something.
I want to fall over and die.
How do you think it makes you feel when somebody invites you onto a radio show to review your work?
It hasn't even read it.
You send them the stuff, send them audiobook, and then you show up and they haven't done any homework. That happened. That happened to me on Art Bell's old station with somebody who I was so embarrassed.
I would have just hung up. I would have just gotten off the show, Gerald.
I tried multiple times. Okay, I mean, I almost hung up 3 times, and the quality was bad. And this person posted it anyway. I asked them not to. I'm like, you know what? I don't.
That's awful.
And I stopped doing radio shows with main radio stations.
Control.
For that reason. If you're not going to do the homework for me, I'm not coming on and giving you my intellectual property so you can sit and run Google AdSense ads on it and get paid the rest of your life on my material. All right. I'm just not going to do it.
So one more statement then, because let's just add to this. I mean, guys, we're obviously super passionate about this. If you're going to have an opinion, and obviously, as we all know, this is in the starter, right? Like the first statement that I wrote when we launched the group was like, please be aware, have some basic awareness so that you can speak at a higher level. So listen, if you're going to come in the group, you're encouraged to come in the group and your opinion is encouraged. Shout from the rooftop. But if you're going to get into a high-level debate with certain people and you have no basis because you haven't read the books, then seriously, man, I mean, how does that reflect on your credibility?
Yeah, well, and in general, what you're saying about the group is we've set a very high bar. It's a private group. It's not an open group right now.
No, it's not.
And so if you get let in, just know that this is not a normal group.
It's a privilege. It's a
very serious group.
Yeah. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be in the group and honor the privilege.
Exactly.
When we started the show, I mentioned how many people have said this is not like other groups. And there's a reason for that. It's because we're not, we're not goofing. We have fun. We have happy things we talk about at times, but we're serious in terms of our mission. We're seekers of the truth. We're decoders of the truth. That's the whole point of this.
So go ahead, Matt. Keep going. So
we just need to get to the bottom of the truth and not let anything distract us. And I think most of the members, 95% of the members we have are on that same path. So
I agree. So that segues perfect into the questions. We have so many questions, but let
me say one more thing. As far as the truth goes, it's a funny thing about us. Every human thinks they have the truth.
Right.
And because of that, conflicts can occur. I want the people in this group to take on an idea that forget about everything you believe. Try out a moving dialogue where you get this much truth this time, and as that dialogue moves along and you get exposed to more things and assimilate and do the hillbilly rules of learning that I wrote in The Seventh Planet. Okay.
Sure.
And you'll be reading like Jay is. Oh my word.
Yeah.
He devours things. If you'll do that, it'll be a very different experience. So that's
clean your slate. Start from scratch and just start over.
well, you know, and then instead of defending a belief that I have the truth and you're wrong and here's my document, instead of doing that, let's be thinking about it as it's a moving point. It's not a final point, the truth. As a matter of fact, in this order of reality, I don't think any one of us will ever have 100% truth.
No, not even close. And right, I mean, the Kabbalion, right? The more you learn, the less you know.
That's right.
The more you learn, the less you know.
So get good with that, and that you're going to get incremental stopping points in your dialogue that are more true to you now than hopefully they were when you started the process.
There's always bigger pictures. That's what that means, basically.
Right.
There's actually a page that I highlighted, or like 2 paragraphs from the Kabbalion that I highlighted today. I wish I would have brought the book and read it right now on air. Like
I love the synchronicity between the Kabbalion and the Emerald Tablets. You can tell they were written by the same.
So actually, I'll just say that right now. So for you guys watching this, the YouTube folks, the course of the Decoders, you know, we put those books in there, but really, wherever you are on your seeker's path, and Matt knows this, I mean, all of us literally, and, you know, I have a story I'm happy to share at the end of this that Gerald helped me with the other night, but those 2 books are literally books that should be next to your bed. You should literally, as a seeker, you should be literally reading these books, because the Kabbalion, as much as the Emerald Tablets, and I've read the Emerald Tablets at least 50 times, and I still read, and I still ask Gerald questions about certain things in it.
Love the Emerald Tablets.
I mean, but these are books that you should constantly be reading, because as Mr. Thoth says, the more you read the books, the more the truth starts to resonate and more your vibrational frequency improves.
You better throw The Alchemist next to your bed too. I want to just throw that out there.
Yeah. So I turned him on to this book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
I read that book 10 years ago.
Oh, did you like it?
Dude, that book is amazing.
Isn't that great?
But that book doesn't, but you know, here's the problem with that book, and there's no problem with it because it's amazing, but we all know that 90% of people that read the book have no idea what that book's about, and they still love it.
Yeah,
right?
But that's why it's because it's layers, right?
Yeah. But isn't that the truth there? Isn't that the truth? Like my mom read that book and I quizzed her about it and she had absolutely not a clue.
So deep. That book is literally about as deep as it gets if you really think about it.
Yeah. Well, you know, actually there was a little truth bomb in there that I have to share. Where this boy, the protagonist, has an encounter with this old man who's in disguise.
Of course.
It turns out that he tells him that he's the king of Salem. And his name is Melchizedek.
His name is Melchizedek, yeah.
Wow. Go do your historical research and find out what the city of Salem was, who the king of Melchizedek was, and you'll realize you're in northern Judah, the Syria, Israel, where the Zionist movement started, right?
Yep.
The word Zion came from. And wow, it's very, very deep.
But Gerald, there's your latent DNA circuits, right? Because we know 90% of people that read that book have absolutely no idea what's going on, but it resonates so deeply inside their DNA that it was this 40 million, I think it sold 50 million copies.
Yeah, right? It was huge, yeah.
So here's that part of what we're constantly talking about we have been encoded with certain truths that are internal to us, right? Again, the masters of the universe, everything resides within.
It's like you like it, but you don't really know why you like it at that time, Yes. I really liked it, but I don't really know why.
When you're at this level of awareness in the Decoders of Truth, a lot of people are, and you read that book, it's like, holy shit, I could read this book 30 times in a row, and every time I read it, I feel like I'm vibrating at a higher frequency.
It really speaks to the core of what this group's message is, and that's
very much so. Yeah,
we are seekers. We're both seekers of the truth, and we're also seekers of finding optimal balance within ourselves and those around us. It's about the growth. It's about balancing and reaching perfection in our own.
Awesome.
Beings, I think.
Yeah. So let me put one more constant or one more axiom here, and I want you guys to expound on it because Marlene reached out to me today. I talked to Gerald on Facebook a little bit, but so Marlene sent me a message today, and first off, props to Marlene, right? We love her. She's doing the most amazing stuff inside the group. Thank you so much for your efforts. Thank you for your recruiting of other people. I mean, what you're doing is just sensational. She's really the person behind the Alexandria Library, but she sent me a message and she said, Jay, I'm really concerned because I'm seeing some, people question, the Anunnaki thread was one, but the people are reaching to her private channel on Facebook and saying, I'm starting to see more negative threads. And so I wrote her back. And again, I talked to Gerald about this already. And I said, Marlene, people are going to perceive and see what they want to see, right? The truth is that there's not light and dark from all these different angles, from these different, media, articles, links, whatever in there. So my message, and I want you guys to expound on, is listen, what resonates with you may not resonate with someone else. So if you see it as a negative article when somebody posts something about, like, say, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or whatever, and you get all concerned and think, oh, this is becoming a dark place or something, that's your perception. That's not what everyone sees. So just try to, balance, right? Center yourself and realize that just because you see it that way, maybe doesn't see it. If it's an awareness article and it's exposing something that's going on, not light or dark, just realize that there's value in it, right? I mean, what do you guys say to that?
I would say a lot of the truth is very dark. So we do need to remember that.
That's what I wanted to say, but I didn't want to say it. That's what I told Marlene.
If you read my book, especially the
Matt.
suppression chapter, it's not one that's on an audio, but it's very dark because suppression of our consciousness and in our growth,
right?
Because of certain factions within the Anunnaki who were in control of us, not all of them all together. We need to remember that some of the truth is dark, and we have to have courage to get through it.
I want to make it known that Mr. Positivity just said that. So,
I know. Well, listen, I know.
Well,
I know for a fact. I've been doing this for a while, and I've been exposed to a lot of people in the business. That there are people that are paid by the likes of George Soros to go into groups like ours
100%
and wreak havoc. Okay. As a matter of fact, one of their psyops was the flat Earth thing that they pushed so hard.
Of course.
You can do that in it, and you allow that to accumulate in there. People look in and see you're talking about flat Earth. Oh, that's a bunch of idiots, and they'll leave. Okay?
Right.
So there, and I'll tell you right now that Jay's a really nice guy, and so is Matt. When it comes to that kind of stuff, I am your hatchet man, and I'll be behind the scenes chopping roots. I will not allow this team to be poisoned. And I've run a lot of teams.
We love you for that, man.
I've run a lot of teams, very, very successful design teams of the most esoteric people. And I know when it's time to chop a root before it gets out of control.
Right. And you're really good about that. And we won't mention that person's name. And that person happens to be a seeker who has a lot of great knowledge. And Marlene's reached out to him. But guess what? He's negative.
Well, listen. When you were a kid and you were in a group of adults that you had to try to show some respect to, if you were raised with any manners at all, oftentimes you were told, if you don't have anything nice to say, just keep your mouth shut.
Exactly.
This is not a place to come airing your laundry, being an empath emotionally, try to date someone else. Do that on some other venue. This is not the place. And for the jokesters out there, I love a good joke. But if that's what you're doing all the time and flipping joking,
you're gone. You're gone.
You're going to be gone. I'm telling you right now.
And I think that person, that was a good warning to that person right now, because we love that person dearly. But you're right. There comes a time where this is a serious group. And again, we're not taking ourselves
there's places to have.
But this is a group about ascension, about improving your spirituality, about getting out of the simulator.
That's right.
So take it for what it is and not go in there and tear people down, post negativity. And again, that message, and I felt really bad about that because that message was an attack of me. And, I like that guy. That guy had a lot of, arcane knowledge and stuff, but he was at a stage in his seeking or his life that he's negative. And that's just like Gerald said, that's not going to help the group.
Well, if you're sharing, an entire thing, that's taking up pages to write, you really need to be on your own venue. You really don't have any business in, a venue where other people are at like that. Go start your own venue and share your truth and build your own group.
Right.
Okay. That'd be my advice to you. And there's going to be people on a positive and a negative path that want to do that. And if you want to go get big, get big. Okay.
Right.
If you're going to play with big guys like us, you're going to play by our rules.
Right.
It is a private group.
Yeah, so I'll have the final say, and then we got all these questions. I'm going to let these guys say. So I just want to say that, as Matt said so eloquently, this is a difficult truth, right? To the reality that we are in a simulated game, that we are literally primitive workers, engineered as slaves for, what do you want to call them? Ascended beings, gods, however you want to look at them based on your path and your awareness level. That's the truth, man. And sometimes that truth, when you really contemplate it from an existential standpoint, really can bother you. So don't think, as Matt said, again, very eloquently, that this is all fun and games, man. Awareness, finding the awareness of the awareness is a lot of darkness. And it's accepting a lot of darkness. We are in a dark path. This planet is controlled by serpent beings.
Well, also, you got the Emerald Tablets. What did Thoth tell you in Emerald Tablet 12? You are going to have massive amounts of darkness pouring. I don't care what time you live in, what culture you're in, it'll show up in its various forms. And a seeker's path is going to show up there.
Absolutely. Higher. I mean, we resonate at a higher light.
Exactly. So you're going to get more powerful attacks from dark.
Like moths to a flame. And Rex, if you're watching this episode, and I know you are, that's the whole theory. That's the whole theory of the Gnosticoi, right? I mean, the Gnostics believe that the archons is an infection. It's a virus. I mean, there you go. It's the progressive virus. I mean, really, what if that's what it is? The progressive virus is the archonic infection, the plague. The serpent beings, whatever you want to refer to them as. What if they really are here in their amoeboid, quark, like Matt, remember that guy put the video in like 3 weeks ago of what the light fragment looks like? I mean, what if these really are beings, independent conscious beings that are just everywhere in our atmosphere? And again, as soon as our path goes to the right or the left of being, centered, the energy body, boom, like a moth to a flame. I mean, it's very possible.
Well, it's not only possible, but Thoth actually gave us some very, very powerful ways to keep them out of our path.
Exactly.
Right? And for people that are serious about trying that, and I know Jay is one of them because he did it recently. First time.
Yes, I did it. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it's not for this show, but let me tell you, if you're just taking in and you're intellectualizing everything, and you're not doing the rote, I mean, you can do the rote, the understanding, the application, the correlation. You can do all four of them. You don't need the last two because we're not going to give you a test. Not yet.
No.
But the application and the correlation level of knowledge that is accessible in this group, get that. Don't cut anybody down. Be a good student and know that these professors and the teachers are not going to tolerate you during office hours if you can't come in with a demeanor that we want to share with you, right? So think about it from that standpoint.
But and as dark as our history.
Oh, I lost you guys. You're frozen. I hope somebody's recording there. I'm going to put you on. Okay, go.
As dark as our past is, one of the things that is amazing about it once you start looking at it from a positive standpoint is you look at Enki, this master geneticist who has maybe created beings and creatures all over worlds. And here is this opportunity, and we talk about this in the screenplay extensively, and in many other places it talks about this, where he has this opportunity to create this perfect being, this perfect being in the image of the creator of all. And I think that's, once you learn that, you think, okay, well, who is this perfect being that's in the creator of all, and it's us. And that, all whatever negative things that has happened in our history, anything that has occurred, you are that perfect being that is trying to be prevented from finding the truth of what it really is, that can then excel to the greatest potential of what it can be. So always remember that. And so even if you want to make yourself aware of that negative thing that occurred, it doesn't really matter, because all it was something that was trying to prevent this perfect being, us, from reaching that stage. And it never matters in the end.
Awesome said, man. Well said. Yep. Totally. I mean, that's my issue, right? Like Monica's always questioning me. She'll be like, because I'll judge, not to physically, but like somebody will say something in my life and I'll be like, oh, well, they're not even at the same frequency or the vibrational level or whatever. And then I'll just like put myself, the ego will put me above them. And Monica's like, dude, everybody's on their own path. Just because they're not as smart as you or not as aware as you or blah, blah, blah. You can't judge them. And it's a perfect axiom for the group, right? Like we have people, as we know, that are literally baby seekers. They literally woke up a week ago and said, oh my God, I'm gravitating to this. I don't even know why I'm in your group, but this is resonating so deeply with me. I can't figure it out. That's okay.
What an exciting time for them.
It's an amazing time, but that's where Gerald's point is that, okay, you're amongst friends and you're amongst people that are literally 20 or 30 years beyond you from a reading and a research and a gathering of information standpoint. Use that to your advantage.
It's like being in school, but for the first time, you're actually in the school you're supposed to be.
A real school, right? Right.
Yeah.
But you're in a mystery school.
Yeah. That's one of my dreams is starting a school someday. I wanted to have my own.
I thought about that too.
What are you talking about? This is happening right now. As soon as the screenplay gets published, that's what we're going to do. We're going to literally start a Gnostic school. Okay. How awesome would that be? A school for seekers.
Yeah, I'd also like it to have a holistic healthcare aspect too.
Oh, well, Gerald, that's not
a mission for special needs children. That's really heavy on my heart.
That's awesome, man.
Should be an entire, how to grow an organic garden. Well, how to these classes should
sustainable living. And,
yeah.
Well, somebody's got to write the new manual for humans on how you were actually supposed to live.
Yeah.
Like,
what plants can you eat out?
Well, let me tell you guys. Let me tell you guys. This is perfect for the show because this just happened to me, and you guys don't know about this. And I'll try not to get all welled up on this. But so what's today? So today's Tuesday. So last Wednesday, I went to my chiropractor get adjusted. And it was a really good adjustment. I let go of a lot of stress. And you guys don't know the story, but this blew me away for 4 hours out of my life. I came out of the chiropractic office where I live in West Covina, and about a 6'3", 250-pound plus mentally challenged or with cerebral palsy kid was coming through with a group of them with their little aides. And he had a massive seizure literally right in front of me. And I just Jay Campbell just jumped to his aid and he fell backwards, and thank God I was there. And I'm a big enough dude that I could brace his fall. And he was holding on to this thing and clutching, and he was spasming. It was a grand mal seizure. Mm-hmm. And the women were freaking out that were the aides. There were two elderly women. And then there were a bunch of other special needs kids, and they're not kids. They're adults, but they're like childlike. And they started screaming and freaking out. And it was the most surreal thing. And this poor kid was just screaming at the top of his lungs, as he's having this grand mal seizure. I mean, it was, it was like, "Rrr," and I'm just holding him, and I just took him into my, my breast, just held him there. And guys, it was so powerful. He came back.
Did you have a spiritual experience?
Oh my God. It was like 3 or 4 minutes, and I was holding him. And as I was looking into him, I felt like this guy has nobody.
Can you imagine the confusion and pain that they're in?
So
every second, every moment.
So honestly,
I had a child like that.
Yeah, Gerald. So I had this guy in my arms as he's sitting there, and he's finally coming back, and I just start talking to him, and I have my hand on his head, and he's this big dude. He's 40, 50 pounds heavier than me, and I'm just I'm not crying at this point because I'm trying to calm him down and everything. But I literally, after it was all over, I stood there waiting for him. The ambulance came. They called 911, the cops, the whole nine. It was the chiropractor came out. But how about this? The chiropractor, after I let him go, and then the police and the ER people or the emergency techs started tending to him, and I held his hand and everything. The chiropractor came out to me, and he's like, Jay, do you think that's a coincidence that you were there? What if it was a 5'4" woman? He would have fallen back and he would have hit his head on the ground, and who knows what could have happened. So it's there's no coincidence in life, but it tore me apart because I went back to my car and I sat in my car and, I cried legitimately, sobbed for 20 or 30 minutes. Because Gerald, you're right. I had a spiritual experience. I felt this person's, every bit of his humanity came out of him into me. And I literally could sense.
They're usually very, very pure.
I could sense that he was alone in the world and that he was probably in some institution or some halfway house or whatever. And he had no one. And for that brief 5 or 6 minutes that I was with him, holding him, and it might have been 10 minutes, time stopped. I felt everything about him, and I just felt like I was so horrible sitting in the car because I wanted to go to wherever he was and befriend him or become his big brother or his dad or whatever. It was such a powerful, life-altering moment. And at that moment, I realized that was the point. I called Monica. I was still shaking, sobbing. And I said, I have to help more people.
That's it. Exactly.
This is what I have to do. I don't know if it means volunteering, but I have to help more people because I just was moved. My soul was moved having that happen.
Jay, that's a beautiful story. And I think basically we look at it, the fact that instead of thinking about ourselves, putting the perspective of others and feeling what they're feeling like you did, completely just automatically puts you on that path on another level, because you're no longer only considering yourself. It's now whoever it is, regardless of what kind of person they are, it's what is this person feeling? What are they going through? And I think that's a really powerful thing to have.
I think Jesus summed it up the best for me, assuming that was a real being, but irrespective, the statement that if you did it not to the least of these, you did it not to me.
Right.
As soon as I had my special needs kid, I got that totally in a way that I could have never understood at that level. And these beings are very special when you end up with a.
Oh my God, man!
They have an energy that's pure from God. It's not tainted with the.
You're right. There's no simulation.
Well, it depends on how high functioning they are. But for mine, he was not able to speak or any of that. He was very low functioning, but his essence changed everybody he encountered. Every care worker, everybody that had an encounter with him, he had that infected. Wow. This child got on Jay. And so I know exactly what you're saying. And when you experience that, I think you've truly experienced the compassion of the creator of all.
I mean, there's no coincidence, Gerald, right? Because like all of this is happening to me at the same time now in this like rapid evolution, and I can't even process it. And it's like, I told Monica when I came home, I said, this is part of my calling now. My path is evolving, but like, I definitely know that my path is to help as many people as I can in any way that I can.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome. That's why you're sitting where you are. Okay.
Exactly.
That's right.
Awesome,
think about this, Jay. You're the one who brought me together with Jerry. And now we're working on this screenplay, and all of these things are happening, and there's other groups that are blossoming because of wives that have come together. All of it has come together from a single tiny moment. It really is. It's really incredible, isn't it?
It's so amazing. Yeah. It's truly a gift to be able to connect people, and I have it, and I just have to embrace it, and just keep running with it,
I have to tell you, as an engineer, my energy is not such that I like groups. I can spend a lot of time by myself, and I'm completely, I live in my head a lot as a designer, as a creator, as an artist. Sure. And so the fact that I got moved and lulled into not just doing my Seventh Planet broadcast, and that was that's why I started. I wanted to do my own thing. Right. Okay, but the fact that this happened, it's been a real blessing for me.
It's awesome, man. You've rediscovered the original Gerald. I want to actually show that picture of you. I wanted to put that picture of you in the Decoders of Truth and say, if anybody, I'll PayPal $100 to the first person that guesses who this is. I don't think anyone would have got it, as long as I didn't put a hint of who it was. I don't think anybody would have got it.
His military picture from when he was
that
younger?
Picture's amazing.
I was doing some.
That picture's so amazing, dude. All
those pictures were queued up for this walk through history that Matt and I did in this show. That's
awesome.
This alchemy path of the treasure.
Oh, so that picture's actually in the video?
Well, it didn't end up there. It was going to be in there, but
okay.
I had just graduated flight school in 1984 after being circuitously sent to Korea for a year, which wasn't what I signed up for, right?
Right.
And I wanted to be a pilot, so this was me coming all the way back full circle after going through.
Joe, as I said in Arkansas, he was a looker. He was a looker.
He has this picture. He has this picture he sent me. It was amazing. I was like, it's like, who took this?
That's such an awesome picture. It's so representative of Gerald.
And
he
has this picture he showed me of this cobra chopper flying through like this epic red sunset, right? It looks like something out of like a thunder movie or something. And he said it's him flying this.
Of course, dude. He flew a
chopper through the sunset.
I didn't fly Apaches. I was given an Apache assignment as my last assignment. That's when I got out in 80.
I gotcha. We got you.
Yeah, but I flew Cobras for
Cobras. Yeah,
but that's incredible. What a machine that is. I mean, that is like a destroyer machine.
So I know better than a lot of people about what it means to be able to take a life or not. Because listen, I mean, we were fully armed to the teeth.
Oh my gosh, those things are.
But that's why I wanted to remember when we first started talking, I really wanted people to know who Gerald really was, right? Because I think a lot of people have this perception or this like stereotypical, idea about people in our community, right? The esoteric research community of like being dorks and
y'all call us tin hatters.
And Gerald is like a down home Arkansas hillbilly god country core, right? So I mean,
for a while I was,
and then he became a military gunner.
Yeah, dude.
Pilot.
So the reality is that that perception that we all hold and that brainwashing and the conditioning, it can only be released, and any of us can be anything we want. And you can't hold stereotypes about people, especially when you figure out, because like again, we're all evolving. I mean, Gerald, I was a redneck too, bro. I was born in this, I lived in the Southeast. I used to talk like this. I used to say, we're fixing to do this. So, I mean, we all.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, man. I mean, I have the most amazing Southern accent when I want to bring it out. I went to college in the Deep South. So, I mean,
for our show.
I will. I'll bring it out. You and I can get seriously deep on that. But anyway, let's see right now, because I know we have.
We should do some questions before.
Yeah, we have a massive audience. I mean, we've only been on for about an hour and 28 minutes. So I told Gerald this is for sure going to be a 2-hour show, because I knew we had. I mean, this show's been amazing, by the way. But let's finish it off and just rock it out of the park. So I'll ask the first question, and there's other ones in there. So if you guys grab one that you want to talk. But so the first question that Gerald grabbed was, and this is a great question, I'm still a little confused on where exactly our souls or our true essence comes from. And I understand, and I know Matt wrote about this in his book, I understand that we are a final product of the manipulation of the original hominids, the bipedals. Are our souls from these hominids the Anunnaki or neither? I know it was written that the Anunnaki sacrificed one of their own to pass on the essence, but it still seems vague to me. Could you clarify this?
That's a great question.
Amazing question. And that's from Kelly Thomas Tomazawizzi Giassi. Thank you, Kelly.
Go ahead, Matt.
Jerry, you want me to take that? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
It's interesting in so many different higher level things we've looked at. It seems that Earth is part of this teaching a third dimension world where beings come to grow up and learn and then ascend to a higher place. But it also seems that because of how important this time is, there may be beings here that are already ascended masters that need to be here because they need to accomplish certain things that need to happen. So I see the Earth and the souls that are here as a collection of maybe beings from all over the galaxy who are here because this planet and what's happening with free will here through our own destiny in this third dimensional experience that we're having here is extremely unusual. And I think it's very important that a lot are looking at to see what the outcome of this is. And many that we're talking here, we don't know, like everyone, we can't say we're all human energies. Some people feel like they're from another place, another star constellation. Who knows where we're from or what we're here, but we talk about how we're avatars. And really that's simply all we are. We are avatars here and we're all part of the human experience.
Awesome. Well said,
let me check. So I would say that clearly all energy, which is infinite, comes from the creator of all.
Yeah. 100%.
And energy working with DNA, whether you need a body or not, working with DNA can, and I'm talking specifically light now, can actually establish the template for the human form that then creates the meat that goes on the bones, okay? So the energy creates the template for the matter. And truly matter is just a label. When you look at matter, it's truly energy stitched together in various covalent bonds and all kinds of different things, okay? So the idea that our essence, every living being has an instance in them of the creator of all. Now, if they gave it up, like these serpent beings that don't have a sun,
it's fascinating. I love that aspect.
Energy that Thoth talks about. Not all beings seem to have that light energy that allows them to pass through this dimension to another one.
They are the other side. Yeah.
We do, which is really amazing. And that's why they don't want you to know about it.
Exactly.
And then as Matt says too, that's why they gravitate towards us.
That's right.
And that's why, but we need to understand what's the purpose behind that, right? How would this perfect creation, how would these beings not have the source energy within them like we do? Well, that's simply what duality is.
Well, exactly.
We need a balance.
This is a very good point. Very good point.
We must have a balance of both energies, or it'll be a boring story, right?
Well, it
always comes back to a story to me. It really does.
There's really no such thing as good and bad. That's Jay.
Yes.
I want to explain.
Again, the Kabbalion, right?
Well, think about a line.
Right.
And at the ends of the line, you have this label that arbitrarily we say, okay, that's good.
Right.
And on this end of the line, well, that stuff's bad. And these are social mores that vary all over the planet depending on.
Absolutely, man.
Okay. So let's just say that's the polarity. Well, all of a sudden you realize, well, if you move this one a little bit and make a little less of that, well, somewhere in the middle you're going to meet because they're on the same scale.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So is there good energy and bad energy? I think there's just energy, and then there's free will and how you want to use it. But that energy still originally, to me, came from the creator of all, for all beings, all through the galaxy. And we're all in this same game of evolving our consciousness to get back to a place where the container of the source, right?
And like you just said,
giving up the body.
If we're all on that path, those who are the more serpent reptilian side, who are filling that role of duality on the red or darker side, they are supposed to be on that path. But maybe at the same time, maybe it's not always going to be this dark and light who are on polarity aspects. Maybe there is this changing occurring where maybe even they're evolving to reach more of a light at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about that, because we left out part of the holographic model from Thoth, where we talked about 14 lower dimensions.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the Emerald Tablets, when they called up these beings using blood and ritual, called them up from a lower dimension. Okay?
Yes, exactly.
So that dimension, and those beings probably want to get into this dimension, get a body, and try to evolve as like we're doing, because they're trying to get the jump start, right? They don't want to go at their pace. They want to go at our pace. And that's why I think there are parasitic hosts that occupy bodies and try to steal that Ba energy.
Those are the Archons.
Exactly.
Yeah. Those are the Archons.
Archons, reptilians, Alpha Draconians.
Whatever you want to call them.
Yes. Whatever label. And I try not to get too caught up. Now, I want to also say, as an avatar host, so we supposedly an ancient alien race found a bipedal hominid and genetically augmented it. Well, guess what? Where did that bipedal hominid come from?
Right.
Just evolved like that? There weren't some other races before that?
Right.
Exactly.
I clearly believe this planet is a prison planet. It's been used for
absolutely
millions of years for souls all over the galaxy that get brought here. They have they're spiritual beings having a human experience, so they can evolve out and be in the universal consciousness and get along. Because until you learn about how material things and widgets and things relate to another, think about chaos versus feng shui. We talked about that. Right? So until you learn all that stuff about material, horizontal relationship with other meat modems and how that works, and then finally you get back to this vertical relationship, back to the as above, so below, right?
Right.
You finally realize it's all about relationship. Your relationship to the infinite, your relationship of your free will between good and evil, okay? Or whatever you perceive that to be, okay? So, all right, I'll get off my.
Well, no. You're going deep, and actually, you lead right into the next question, because I was going to kind of compartmentalize the question and let you guys both answer it. So the next question, I'll read it out, and then I'll add something to it. So the next question is, how did the Anunnaki tie in with the human animals, Belial, and the children of the Law of One? That was the beginning of humanity through materialization, according to, again, the lost teachings of Atlantis. So how did the Anunnaki gain control of these beings of light? Now, before you guys answer that question, this goes back to the screenplay, right? So if the Anunnaki really, because everybody says, well, they didn't have a right to come here and screw with our evolution, as already upright walking hominids. But as you guys have said, if Enki wanted to jumpstart us for a reason, from a spirituality reason, again, the DNA, the latent circuits, to get us to a higher level at a much faster rate, then is it negative like so many people believe it is that they tweaked us, right? And then it goes back to what you just hinted at, Gerald, was guess what? Before the Anunnaki, there were probably other species that were tweaking.
Ask yourself this question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you enslave yourself willingly into a situation if you knew that the beings that you were serving would not only allow you to progress beyond where you are, but all the way to the point where they possibly were?
Millions of years of evolution.
So this is like, okay, if they hadn't jump-started us, maybe some other alien race would have, who knows? But if they hadn't, we wouldn't be here having this conversation.
Exactly. And
so you gotta go, okay, you terrible people, you did this to me, but I wouldn't be here.
Well
said. Complain about it if you hadn't done that.
Okay, let's look at this from a higher level, and that's the way that people always need to look at things, right? Look at it from a higher level. If the creator of all, this is all just kind of a storyboard with going a certain path through destiny and all these things. Let's look at it at a higher level. Human beings, millions of years de-evolved to where we are now, are on this planet, and maybe something in a cataclysm in the future is going to come along, right? And they need something that's going to jumpstart. And so there's this part of a plan that is kind of going to happen no matter what. And what I see is these strange coincidences that occur with our creation. One of those strange coincidences is Planet X Nibiru with these Anunnaki gets entrapped in our solar system, right? And the creation of Earth is then formed. And then later on, because of that very interaction as an invading solar system, it causes their planet to lose and just have their entire atmosphere to be destroyed, forcing them to have to seek gold. And the only planet in our solar system that has gold quantities like that they need is Earth. Forces them to have to come to Earth. Then the work is too hard, and it forces revolts, which make them need to create a biological worker. To me, there's this really obvious plan kind of all along where humanity is kind of, to me,
sounds like he's involved in the screenplay.
I don't know.
It seems to me where the Anunnaki are kind of puppets being played in a game where
we need Rex.
Well, let's back up a little bit. You mentioned the potential jump starting, which has real big impacts at the galactic year, assuming there's
exactly.
Imagine that there are those lords of the 9 cycles that Thoth mentioned are real, and that their job is to coordinate these 9 parallel dimensions as they evolve, coming together at one plane in the future. That's what they said, right?
Gerald, I think we found out on Friday night that they are not imagined.
Oh, you did? Oh, good for you. Yeah, listen. The fact that he gives you their names and allows you a ritual to reach out to these psychomasters. These aren't even Anunnaki. These are way higher than the Anunnaki.
Yes. They're not even like in a dimensional understanding.
So they're the right-hand agents of the creator of all,
right.
Coordinating dimensional consciousness coming together.
We can't even perceive what
that's my point is let's not imagine they exist.
Well, so Matt, so consider this, and this was one of the points of the play, is if Enki, if you go read how he was working with Thoth and their interactions with the creator of all, oh my word. I think there were beings in all probably alien races that ultimately had their ascended beings that were higher up dealing with possibly the creator of all, like they said. Okay, that's why I wrote my second book, by the way. Who was this creator of all? And that they were venerating, okay? Because clearly this energy is coordinating not only with the cycle masters, but all these other alien races too, not just the Anunnaki.
So go ahead, Matt.
And so here we have, let's say this plan is going along and Enki has this idea where he wants to create this perfect being in the image of creator of all. And in the screenplay, Gerald talks about how in that aspect, he's then communicated with a direct envoy to give him the constructs of it. So you say to yourself, well, then he's supposed to do this all along then.
Right.
We're part of a plan that was the source had wanted all along, which was have a master geneticist, right? A master scientist that truly understands life at its deepest core. Because where did Thoth get all of its teachings?
Right.
Where did all that we know come from? From Enki.
That's right.
And of course we could say where he got his from, but all we can say is if Enki is at this point where you have a master geneticist who truly understands the teachings of the creator of all, then when you want that being to be the one who creates the image of the source, the creator of all. So I think Enki and through his sons and through the sisters and half sisters and everyone else that are part of this light path was chosen by this creator of all to make us. And we are here speaking right now, figuring out what I believe is that truth and reality.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I wrote my second book. You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
So Gerald, let me go back. So you guys are just going so deep. This is an amazing episode. So let me see that to the point we left off. And you guys are not aware of this, so I'm just going to give a sweeping generalization, but I already know you're going to be able to speak highly about this. So this whole, and a lot of people in the Decoders are talking about this. So this whole season of Ancient Aliens, this season 11, has literally been dropping bombs. I mean, so much wisdom is coming out, mostly suppressed stuff. And the 3 bullet points I had was that, and this isn't even like theory anymore. This is accepted by people at NASA, Russian physicists. The moon is an artificial satellite. They have proof. It was put there. It's doing things to keep Earth's orbit the way it is. It's a blockade for debris. I mean, it's amazing, right? So that was first point. The second point was the prototype episode, which is, okay, they're tweaking us. And this goes back to what Gerald was saying. There's so many races, and this is a prison planet, and it's been here for eons. And then the last one, which was Friday night's episode, that completely was mind-blowing, was why are the Greys tweaking us? And it was coming from a point where all the guys on Ancient Aliens are saying it's not a matter of are we being abducted anymore. It's we are being abducted. We've been being abducted. What now is the reason why they're abducting us, right? So I want you guys, with that kind of information coming out right now, with knowing that we're changing the zodiacal house, that there's a shift, we might have something else coming, planetary bodies or whatever. What is the reason that the matrix, the veil of the matrix, is seemingly being lifted for aware people? And obviously Ancient Aliens is freaking broadcast all over the world.
Jerry, you want to take that? You want me to take
that? Why is the veil being lifted now is what you're asking.
Yes.
Well, I think you spoke about that. And my theory has been that clearly the Anunnaki tied their reigns as a term limit, if you will, to the zodiacal house. It was clear in their documents. They built their temples to align to the solstice and equinox so they could tell where we were in celestial time. And if you look at archaeoastronomy, you can go back and see where they were looking at a particular point in time.
Graham Hancock tells us, but he won't mention the Anunnaki.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, this information is starting to come out.
Keep going.
Zodiacal houses, okay? In the equivalence model, a zodiacal house lasts 2,160 years. Okay, and basically, for those who don't know, the Earth precesses on the solar ecliptic, and it does so because of the wobble. Okay, in the tilted axis, and that turns out to be a wobble that produces a 1 degree slip in the precessional axis every 72 years. Exactly. So if you take 72, multiply it by 360. And you have this great year concept that they were using to tell time with, okay?
Isn't that amazing?
Absolutely.
If we were exactly a circle going around, it would be 25,920 years. That's a great year. And when you find out that the Mayan calendar the long count was a countdown to this very event where we're back at the galactic center coinciding with, wouldn't that be the place that you would say, okay, where do we pick a reference point for this solar system to say this is a great year as it's processing? It'd be as it's going through the center of the galaxy that it's part of.
Yes. So that's why there's no need to harp on negative things to control your life.
Not at all.
Because if you see that and you see all these things that are coming together right now with us, you just mentioned Ancient Aliens dropping massive amounts of truth bombs, right? Mm-hmm. This screenplay we're working on being allowed to come through.
This is the apocalypse, right? This is the apocalypse.
This is the time when we are moving to a next step in our entire evolutionary consciousness right now.
And guess what? I don't think it's going to last forever. There's a window open right now where all the truth's out there.
Yes.
Politicians absolutely hate that the internet has not been regulated, that you and I, people like us, can get together and get it. And the broadcast and, the powers that be aren't going to be very happy about us spitting truth bombs like this, okay, for very much longer. So so get it while you can, because what I'm telling you, this galactic window of the precessional equinox only comes around once every 25,900 years.
Yes.
And I truly believe when that energy hits a human meat modem and lights up your antenna, this is what's causing the awakening.
Yes.
It can't be stopped. And the thing is, what's really important for you to understand is wherever you are in your chakra levels, it's going to create the consciousness and the scope of awareness that you're going to get to have while you're dealing with this stuff, okay?
Exactly.
If you're focused on fear, you're going to manifest things that are fearful, okay? And I give you the extreme preppers that want to save this over anything else, relationship, family, anything else. It's more important to save your carcass because you don't understand death and you're afraid of it. That's
and so you can pay them before you die.
Well, yeah. So
this is the next question then. So it's perfect. You just talked about chakras. Yeah. So in your opinion, what chakra level do we need to be at, if any, to maintain our consciousness to the next dimension? Also, do you believe reincarnation is a punishment for not having our consciousness in an enlightened state to be able to enter the fourth dimension? Before you guys answer, brilliant question, Lisa Hanna. God, that is amazing. Go ahead.
That's a very good question. Matt, go ahead. I just blabbed.
Okay.
I got a good opinion.
If we look at the chakra system with where it lights up with the different color system, we see that the green chakra, the heart chakra, I believe is the focal point. The question asked, how do we always maintain kind of our highest state of consciousness within looking at the chakra world, the chakra system? And the chakra system is based on stages that occur in our life of our conscious awakening, right? Where we break we reach another stage where another part of our double helix DNA has been plugged into, right? And so, yeah, this shows a picture right on the screen there. Now, if the heart chakra, as it says, the heart chakra is where our emotional connection is deepest, and that is where I believe is the safest place we can remain to keep our consciousness at the highest state. Then I think if you ever want to know where to keep yourself constantly during these times of uncertainty and so much negativity, just always remain in the heart chakra of love and of emotion, and you'll never be steered incorrectly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would just say
that was awesome, by the way, bro.
Yeah, this idea of using the chakras as your figure of merit to determine whether you graduate, that's a great question. I don't know if societies have ever asked themselves that, especially as secular societies like the West.
Hashtag Decoders of Truth.
Yeah, but let's ask the question. And Matt said, okay, if you get to the heart chakra, it sounds like it might be a safe place to get to the next dimension, right? That's kind of what you just said. Am I putting words in your mouth?
Because you're always staying in an emotional place, and that way you'll be guided from that standpoint. I feel like from if you can at least get to that place.
Well, I tend to agree with you. So we want to get to the highest place so we can be an optimal experience. You know, like Jay, we got to optimize everything, right, Jay?
Yes, sir.
Energy, food, all that. Do the best you can.
But baby steps. So
I think. Right. And let me back up and say that when that energy hits your antenna, whatever chakra you're in, it's gonna make you animate that times 10 or probably maybe even 100. So if you're into your red chakra and you thought you were a cheating, sorry, beard guzzling womanizer, you're gonna get that by 10 because that energy in that chakra is gonna get amplified.
Yes,
it's the galactic center. Okay, so I think that people that get up into the heart chakra, which is kind of representation of the chakra that Jesus was promoting,
right,
is loving kindness. If you could get to that place in your fourth chakra,
exactly,
that's fantastic. You're definitely going forward as far as I'm concerned, because most people have trouble getting to that place,
and it's at least a safe level.
Never even wake up their chakra body. Okay,
yeah,
that's the truth. I mean, you have this latent Kundalini energy sitting down there in the ganglion empire, and it just sits there. Because they don't know how to release it. Okay, so maybe we should do a show with some of the yoga gals and some other meditation, and we'll talk about that offline.
Well, honestly, we should talk about chakras. All right, we have 3 more questions, and this show is so amazing. Let's just answer them, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's becoming, and this is a great question from Brian Fleming, it's becoming increasingly difficult to separate the good guys from the warring clan-controlled agents' plans. Is there a definitive method for a beginning seeker to recognize the Dark Brothers and their agents?
You want me to take that, Jerry? You want to take
brilliant question.
Go ahead.
So all this information out there, like Jerry said, it's an open market right now, right? It's open season. There's anything you can imagine on the internet about every aspect of what truth of this really is, right? As barbaric or as insane as you can look at, or as truthful as you want.
Right.
And how do you know what to follow? How do you know what's real? How do you know? And what I think needs to happen is first becoming in tune with your own awareness of yourself and following the intuition of yourself and recognizing what that feels like. Once you know what that is, and you're becoming healthier and following that path, you will recognize information that'll either fall under the level of this feels like something I want to pursue, or this feels like something that is just bogus and is trying to derail me. And that is your guidance.
That's right. That's
Genius.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. And we've said so many times, only you can determine what's true.
Yes.
Your path may be different from someone else.
So true. So true.
We have this tendency, though, like I was telling in the beginning of the show, that one was a bad one, that was a good one. And then you kind of realize everybody that came from that one, they're bad. Everyone and this is the Hatfield and the McCoy viewpoint of the Anunnaki. Well, I started with that in order for people to be able to start at least that first stage of segregation. Well, these ones kind of did mostly bad stuff, with exceptions. And then these ones, and we call these the Enkyites and the Enlilites, okay?
Yeah.
Did they intermarry across their clans? Yes. Did they possibly change roles and this one got to be bad while this one got to be good in the next zodiacal house? Yes. Is this all just a screenplay on the stage of life for the primitive world?
Yes, storyboard.
Polarity? Yes.
I like that. Exactly.
So
everyone's playing their role, right?
So
Everybody's playing their role.
Pick which hero is emanating the infinite character traits that you want to take on as a hero, and don't venerate that one. Figure out what they're teaching and learn from them, because the God that you're looking for is in you.
Yes, and you'll quickly recognize
that's right.
If that is a dark path or if that is a light path, and you'll recognize that that they fall into categories. And you know what? If you want to follow a dark path, that's your choice, because we have free will and you can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Very well said. So you guys, because I completely forgot and I'm getting texts. Did you guys want to go live for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes here and answer questions, or just finish this?
Whatever. I'm open to whatever you guys think.
What do you think, Gerald? There's a bunch of people asking. They're asking, so it's up to you.
Don't we have designated like 2 questions left? Or
we got a couple of questions left still here, though.
Yeah, let's just finish the questions.
Let's see, because we took on a lot. I know.
We'll go live next time, probably.
Yeah, totally. So, so the last 2 questions. I would also like to hear you all touch on Starfire Gold. Thank you in advance.
There you go, Jerry.
All right, let me do the real quick précis version. I wrote about this in my first book, and I think it shows up in my second book in the alchemy section as well. So what do we know? Lawrence Gardner exposed us to the idea that the Anunnaki in Hathor's temple on Mount Cerebit, El Qadim, which has been verified, found a massive amount of talcum-like powder underneath the floor. There were edifices and pictures on the wall showing the temple priests and the ritual attendants consuming conical bread cakes made of this, whatever it was. And as they analyzed it, they found out they were smelting gold, mixing it with something, and producing this weird powder that had some crazy benefit for the Anunnaki. And Hathor was an Anunnaki, okay?
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe she was something else in another life, but so Hathor was there, and it looks like Enlil was there as well. This is actually the place that Moses in Exodus 32:20 had an encounter with these Anunnaki, Yahweh himself, according to Exodus 32:27. Okay, he's the one that ordered the Levites to go kill all their brethren. Well, remember later in the story that Moses came down, Aaron had a calf, they melted the calf down, somehow turned it into a powder, sprinkled it on the water, and had the Israelites drink it. Okay, well, this is the same connection to this stuff that Lawrence Gardner exposed, and what we call it is Starfire Gold. And it's produced through a smelting process at various temperatures, melting gold, mixing it with the earth element stibium, which apparently causes 40% of the mass of it to be gone for some reason. Nobody can explain where it goes. And if they consume this stuff, it seemed to have superconductive properties. And a superconductor is a lossless energy system. So if you put that kind of element into the human body, which is highly electrical, it amps up your energy body. And it does many other things as well.
Just batteries. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I know that Jay has tried this product, and many.
Oh my God, I can talk all day. I took some before. Listen, I took some before I came on the show.
Well, what do people want to know about it? You want to know how it's made, what it is? I can give you a little detail. Okay, so first of all, there are transition metals that all can potentially be made into what's called a monoatomic element.
Right.
Okay. What is a single atom? That's what it is. Okay, an atom can have positive and negative charges. So you can have a positive ion or atom or a negative one. Okay. What we're looking for, understand? So when gold is, and I'm going to do the alchemical method of using acids instead of the Stibian method and giving out temperatures, okay, with mixing with gold, because this is actually the way most people are making monoatomic elements now. They use acids and bases, okay? So what happens is if you have a simple diatom of a plus and a minus atom, let's use gold, okay? But you could use platinum, rhodium, molybdenum. There's several other ones in the platinum group, 6 of them, okay? And they all have the ability to take a diatom and split it off into a monoatomic element. And what we want is that positive monoatomic element, and we want the negative monoatomic element to be attached to something so it goes away, okay? So what happens is when you expose gold to an acid, it can break it down into these 2 diatoms. And if it's in salt water, guess what? The negative ion or the positive ion will attach to the negative ion of the chlorine molecule. So you have sodium chloride, which is salt, right? So the chloride is a positive that attaches to the negative and vice versa. Well, the bottom line is it's easy to break a simple bond of a sodium chloride with a positive ion of a monoatomic gold element, okay? So through this process, you end up fusing the positive ions of monoatomic gold or a transition metal to a chlorine ion, which is a salt, in a colloidal solution, or you can dry it out as a powder, okay? So what happens is when you reintroduce a simple weak acid to this bond, it breaks it and the monoatomic element is released into the host. So the saliva in your mouth is acidic enough to break the sodium bond on a monoatomic atom of gold or whatever, okay? And coffee has acids in it, or certain juices like orange juice. Any of those acids is strong enough to break that bond, okay? So suppose you take some of this monoatomic floating or a powder form and you put it in your body. Well, all of a sudden you've turned your body, your electrical system, into a superconductor. And
Exactly.
And the side effects of this are very much heightened mental energy, your sense of your energy body, heightened meditations. People that have out-of-body experiences, they get really amplified. So you get more in touch with the energetic side of that template that's manifesting your meat host, okay, big time. And it also lights up your chakras in a big way, because that's where that energy aggregates at various wavelengths along your spine, okay?
Spoken from a true alchemist.
It affects the pineal gland, and the Anunnaki seem to have been taking it with the supposition from Ninmah's instruction, being the medical officer, that this was a way to prolong their avatar bodies, because they were being exposed to cycles of the sun from our Earth they weren't used to. They were very rapid compared to theirs.
And obviously one thing you left off, and there's a great discussion, is that this is, when you're using this and you're already at an awareness level where you are conscious, and hopefully have a higher conscience, as Gerald said, it's literally like, the light frequency, the antenna, the energy is it's just optimized. He talks about, I want to be optimized. I mean, this stuff just like turns on everything and amplifies it, times 10, 20, 30, some people probably 100. And it's like Gerald says, he was saying how I'm just voraciously ripping through books and manuscripts and texts. And honestly,
he's full of gold.
I've always been a seeker and a reader, but I am literally now a full-blown hermetic, and I can't stop. And it gets into my work day now too, because I'll be like, I have to read 50 pages by a certain amount of time in my calendar. So it's incredible. But I mean, this, first off, just a shout out, please support people in the group. Gerald's wife sells this, Christa. You can go to artisticvegan.com and buy it. Gerald has his site on his website too. Gerald, you can give out the URL. You can find it. It's out there.
Yeah. Well, I want to say that we hunted down a guy from Berkeley who I really connected with at a deep spiritual level. We were making this stuff ourselves through this process and trying to be on the go and meeting shipping requirements with customers. Finally, we We just couldn't do it anymore. It was too hard. And we signed up a master alchemist who I have full worlds of faith in, knowing how long he's been doing this and how effective he is. And I signed him up to be our private label producer for the 2 products, or multiple products that Chris has now. One of them is the alchemical elixir of the Anunnaki, and the other one is a starfire gold. The alchemical elixir is what's called a spagyric, and it's got actually 3 monoatomic element sources in it, not just gold.
Wow.
Where the alchemical elixir is straight up colloidal gold.
Become your best self, right? Become your most highest conscious self.
Well, it's certainly done that to me, and I know that if I don't have a stack of books next to my bed, it's probably because I'm out of the stuff.
I just ordered 3 more bottles. All right. So last question. And just so you guys know, I went live on Facebook without telling anybody. We've got like 5 people watching. Nobody's asked a question. That's okay. They can watch in the background. But so this is also Lisa Hannah. And again, thank you guys, all of you, for your questions. They're all amazing. We get inspired answering them. So this is straight up Gerald question. So Lisa says, if Nibiru is coming from the southern hemisphere, when do you think we should be able to see it with the naked eye on a daily basis? I know chemtrails are hindering this, but some videos, and obviously we've seen the videos, are all over the planet, are showing evidence of it in the northern hemisphere. So my question essentially is, without the involvement of government and Anunnaki influences spraying, why can't we see it on a daily basis? And what is the best time to try and see it if you are living in the Northeast? Thank you for your enlightenment.
Well,
that's a loaded question, Gerald.
Yeah, well, actually, I want to say I don't like wags when it comes to answers. So what I did is last year in 2015, May, I wrote a 49-page document called the Nibiru Orbital Status Report.
Yep.
It wasn't just focused on the ephemeral reality of this long elliptical orbit, but also took into account, how do we even know that the planet is real, and what evidence do we have? So I kind of did a little vicarious mathematical analysis of VA243 and a couple other things and threw it all in there. Well, the bottom line is we had some real hardcore data as a scientist that was the only data I deferred to. And that was the data from the IRAS telescope and the other things that came after that, Voyager and Pioneer. But the IRAS we got from a scientist who gave us the data and said Planet X was real in 1981, made it through all these newspapers. Right. But this has been going on for a very long time. This has been going on since 1790 when they were trying to figure out what's perturbing Neptune and Uranus.
The gravity of it.
So there's something that's doing this, okay? And
threw Pluto out in the middle of nowhere.
From that data, I created a table, the velocity of the average velocity, and then calculated based on what they told us for the aphelion location, and ran through all this math for people on YouTube. I didn't think anybody watched this. I was surprised. It got a lot of traffic. And I laid it out there, and I came up with a date range based on what they told us, showing you all the math that it looked like from about the middle of last year to the end of this year, if you used integer scalars for the velocity increase that it'll experience as it gets closer into perihelion with the sun. It's going to speed up. Last point we had to measure the velocity was in 1990 that was given to us. So the idea of between 1990 and now, what's the change in velocity? Only people that are looking at it with real instruments know that. The rest of us are just guessing, okay? So is it prudent to put out a date and say, well, you should be able to see it here and right there? You're going to get egg all over your face, okay? Truly. So for me, like Marlene said, it's enough for me to know, even though this math shows it should be here in this approximate, so what if it goes to another year? Maybe it didn't take exactly 3,600 years to come in. It experiences plus or minus deviations based on the resistance through the atmosphere that it's going through, okay? So it's not a precise clock. You can't go to December or September next year when Jupiter is going through Virgo and say, oh yeah, it's going to be right there, and that's when it's going to show up. That's ridiculous if you look at the math, if you look at the orbital pattern and the pattern. This is not a time clock. You go, okay, it's going to be right there. Not like other things, okay?
And then plus, what about, as we know with CERN, right? We know there are technologies at play too that can also do things to orbital pathways. I mean, we don't even know, right? I mean,
well, the Earth's a big magnet. Now imagine they had the technology, an ancient astronaut had the technology to overcome and override the magnetic field of the Earth and cause the force vector to show up over here instead of over here, aligned with the poles, such that it could vary that as a function of how much magnetic flux is being generated by an outside source and mitigate it so there's no rapid movement and you never experience a flood. They said they could do that.
Which is why I believe the Inuit people are saying that all the stars in the sky have shifted.
I think that's possible, and I think there's a lot of disinformation going on with that.
Yeah, Gerald. Yeah,
indigenous people are very in touch with their environment.
But do you think that using some of these technology tools, like you say, if they're trying to off balance the gravitational shift, when you put the planet in in an opposite direction to try to counter that, it's almost like
that's what Enki said in his anonymous message, that they were going to attempt that at the poles, right?
So perhaps that's already started to happen, and that's why the stars are slightly off a line. Maybe that's it
could very well be. And my math shows that that's very possible.
Well, that's what I think is happening.
I got an update. Okay, so we got an update, and I decided to take the second point that Harrington gave us. We had 2 points. We had one in 1981, we had one in 1990, and I recalculated my own blink test in a later show that I did. And I think this was episode number 1 on the 7 Planet broadcast. I think it was, right? I think it was that one. Well, so I did the velocity calculation myself and did the average one, and then the one that it would have to be in order to be at perihelion in this time frame that it looks like coincides with these Earth changes we're experiencing, okay?
Yeah.
And the velocity that came out of what Harrington told us, where he told us it was at 1990. So that if you didn't change that velocity at all, my update showed that absolutely, without question, if Harrington wasn't lying, it would be here without deviation before 2019. That's my absolute farthest out hard limit. Now, if you take into account the velocity scalar, now in my first report, I guessed it to be approximately 4. Okay, to bring it right into now, if you started out next to Pluto, and he said it was 5 billion miles outside of it, at that time in 1981, and then you back up to 1991, he said it was only 6.6 billion miles from the sun. Okay, so starting from that point, doing the velocity, boom, it falls right into perihelion here, no later than 2019. And if you adjust the velocity scalar, which I found out if you used it as an integer, it brought it in at the end of 2016.
End of this year.
It could possibly be something other than slight, like it could be 4.167 or something, right? We don't know what the velocity increase is as it slingshots close to the sun, and also the rate that it has to come out. We know it has to double the speed to escape from that gravitational pull.
And so one of the things we can say is, well, we maybe can't see the planet, but maybe we can see the effects that it's having on our planet.
Well, I think to answer her question, I can't say what the day is that you'll be able to say that. I can tell you where it would have to be located for you to see that. It's got to come out from perihelion and go back and come close to crossing the solar ecliptic before you're going to be able to see it. Because if it's above the horizon, you can see it. If it's below the horizon, you'll see it above the horizon, but it's below, you may not see it.
So Gerald, hold on, Matt. Be more specific. If people are, because obviously we have people all over the world watching. And by the way, we have a circus going on Facebook right now, asking questions. A lot of people are watching, so this is cool. And they're saying that right now the audio and video is perfect. So I'm just giving you guys feedback. But so they're listening and watching right now. But so tell people, Gerald, where that means geographically, logistically.
Okay. Well,
latitudinally, where they can watch this from.
Well, if you believe Harrington when he went to New Zealand at the Blackbird facility to say where he thought it was coming in, so it's coming in from the southern hemisphere on an angle off the ecliptic at least 30 degrees. It could be much more than that. Extreme,
really extreme.
So when it's coming down from below, if you're not in the southern hemisphere, you're not going to be in a place where you can see it until it comes. Then it's going to have a short period where it crosses the solar ecliptic, heading into the perihelion point, coming around the sun. Okay, if it's behind the sun, you're definitely not going to see it. Okay, so that's where a lot of this is going on right now. Is it in perihelion? Is it what's causing all the earthquakes and the volcanoes to go off? And so you end up with these 2 sun videos coming out, the majority of which can be explained away. Some of them maybe cannot. But when you start getting the astronomical community involved, and they start really showing the ephemeris and showing a live update of that model, and they've gotten it as good as what NASA has.
Oh, give me a break.
At that point, I'll be on board. But right now, most of it is speculation. But listen, I do think the math is not lying. And if Harrington was not lying, it's going to be here before 2019.
Okay, so I was just going to be the Jay Campbell Occam's razor dude and say they killed Harrington,
which tells me that what he said was probably legitimately right.
Right. So I would expect that based on that, I don't think my math is that far off. The velocity could only increase from 1990, not stay the same. So if that's the case, I truly believe that my original estimate to the end of this year is pretty good. Could I be off by a few months? Heck yeah.
December.
Could I be off by a year? Yeah, but I'm just showing you the math, and I gave it to you. Okay.
Well, hold on. Let's just
Decoders of Truth. I put that report out for free. It's there on there.
So, and let's preface this for the Decoders of Truth and for the people that watch us on YouTube. We are not sensationalists. I won't name names. We're not fear mongering. We're not saying, "Oh my God, the end is nigh." But we are saying that Gerald is smarter than the average bear when it comes to calculating all this stuff, and he's done his math and his homework and his due diligence. And he's written 2 freaking amazing books that I hope some of you guys are going to read about this. And the reality, here's the Jay Campbell Occam's razor, okay? Look at what is going on geopolitically in the world right now, okay? At any point in time since maybe the Caesars, when did we have such disorder in our political structures everywhere? So is that coincidence?
Well, I want to say something just for a moment. You're giving out evidence why we should believe that Nibiru is real, and I have no question in my mind. And I wanted to I wanted to say something about this. If you're at the place where you're good with the idea of dying and you're living your dream right now, why do you even care?
Who gives a
Yeah,
shit?
exactly.
Listen, you are a spiritual being having a material experience that doesn't go on forever.
No.
This material host is transient. Okay, so it could be an earthquake, it could be a plague, it could be a nuclear bomb, it could be anything.
World War III, right.
So recognize that we're here in a finite place. Yes, this might be another reality, an asteroid, anything could wipe us out. Okay, but don't let that drive you to count every single day looking to the sky like in melancholia and just wallowing in your fear.
Right.
And take that as your bucket list and get good and live your life the best you can right now because of that.
Matt, you have.
Can I say a comment on that?
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to let you.
Okay, and so here's a perspective. Instead of worrying about Nibiru, how about embracing the idea that all the things that have been talked about right now about precautions that are being taken and about how important we are, maybe realize the idea of Nibiru actually being a major responsibility for our vibrational frequency raising and part of our conscious awakening here. And these stages that are undergoing with our humanity leaps right now with all this information, much of it could be responsible from the planetary influences on us, our wobbles and our changes. So maybe, what's happening is exactly what needs to happen. And we just need to embrace it and just be the best we can to go through it, not ever worry about the future.
Right. Well, it does. And Gerald's talked about this before, and others, just who've done their homework and their research. And there are other people out there. Again, I give Gerald most of the credit for his research because no one's has been as depth. And I know Matt agrees with me, but it's not like Nibiru hasn't come and gone before and done far less damage than at other times. Depending on its angle and its orbital passageway, it's different. So this could be one of those times where it's not going to destroy the Earth.
Exactly.
And we are going to have tidal waves or tsunamis or storms or some sort of, again, stuff, on the planet that acts up. But it may not be. And again, as Gerald said, and as Matt said, and I'll just echo it, why, guys, in the Decoders of Truth, that's who I'm talking to. And, of course, YouTubers, too. Why do we talk about getting your soul right? What is the big picture here? What is important? What is important? What is important is service to others and learning about what you need to do as a human, as an individual, to get yourself right so that if it does go away, that you come back, if you do come back in the next simulation, as a more evolved being.
Yeah, and can we just? I just want to really point out in our timeline, the last two passes that Nibiru has made. Remember, it's Shar. Its pass from that it takes is 3,600 years. Everything that's been written talks about that, and the flood of Noah that everyone's worried about, that everyone talks about, that was 2 passes ago.
Right.
Okay, that occurred because it happened to pass at a certain place within the earth that was devastating. Not to mention they weren't doing anything to prevent it. If anything, Enlil was wanting it to kill everybody, right? But then think about it again. Then Nibiru came back 3,600 years ago. We don't see any evidence talked about of anything happening, right? Which, think about that. It's just because it says one thing happened to the earth from one pass, everyone's freaking out that every pass is that way. No. That's just not the way it works.
No. Well, that was clearly the case in the Egyptian records, that there were 4 major floods and lots of minor ones. But, so I totally agree with you on that. And actually trying to coincide Noah's flood with the flooding of Atlantis, I don't, actually the more research I do, I see that those are not the same correlation. Okay, there were different stages of the oceanic empire that were taken out, and it turned out that even in the Emerald Tablets they said one of the islands was saved, the one that Enki had his temple on, right, while all the other ones sunk. Now maybe that one sunk in a later flood, we don't know, but that's the supposition anyway.
I think all of you guys would be so happy and so proud to see the support that we're getting right now with all the people that are watching live. I mean, it's pretty freaking mesmerizing, because considering it's 12 o'clock on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's 12:30 at night here.
12:30, right. Yeah. So, I mean, this is awesome. So clearly, guys, we're going to have to do some live broadcasts pretty soon. We'll figure it out. But, we've been on for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and by far this has been the best Decoders of Truth episode by a landslide. So, final thoughts. I got a really amazing question, and it's in my crawl now. A guy asked about the last David Bowie song that he wrote before he died, and he said about the black star, the passage of the black star. Was that a cryptic allusion?
The dark sun. Yeah, I remember somebody showed that. I think.
Let me read the question.
I think it is. I do think it was an allusion.
Yeah. Do you guys believe that Nibiru has a black sun coming along with it, as mentioned by David Bowie's recent song before his death, "The Black Star"? Was this a cryptic message to those who are awake?
I think it is, and I think Nibiru is a complex with at least 5 to 7 planetary bodies. But I don't believe that the dark sun that he's referring to, the binary twin,
right?
I don't believe it comes in perihelion with our sun. Absolutely not.
No.
Okay.
I think it runs. I think what you have is 2 suns that are in a dance, in a binary dance.
It's
like
good discussion right here.
And it's aphelion point is probably where Nibiru's complex goes out near. Now, whether it's around its dark star or just to a foci that's in between these two binary twins, our sun and that sun. So I think that second sun that he's talking about is one that may not have actually, it may be a brown dwarf, and it may not have actually ignited into a sun, so they would call it a dark
Exactly. Star. So the spectrum of it would not be a bright star. Right. It would be a dark star.
That's right.
So they're asking, the other question related to that is Nemesis Nibiru, or is it not? It's totally separate? Because remember, NASA's now identifying that Nemesis, right?
They're calling Nibiru's. They're calling Planet X, or let's make this clear. They're calling Planet X or Nibiru's sun, our binary sun, Nemesis, right? Which I absolutely can't stand.
Is that a derailment?
Do we really want to name something that sounds like it's going to annihilate us? That's the most horrible thing to come up with. So I just call it our binary twin. That's what I call it.
Well, Carlos Ferrata called it Herculobus. I don't know exactly
what
that translates to. It sounds kind of Greek, actually. So
yeah,
or Latin.
It's certainly a lot more realistic and positive than Nemesis. I would like to just maybe put that name to bed, and let's maybe not call it that anymore.
Well, the Anunnaki had names in the Enuma Elish for all the planets that we've correlated with our solar system, and a few of their satellites too, and the talking about the construct of the moon that just came out in this Ancient Alien session. They called it Kingu, and it was a very originally it was part of the Tiamat, which was probably what? Why were they concerned about that? Because it was probably a local planet that they were using to observe the inner solar system, if I had to guess. It was at the spot, right? Where not too much solar radiation, they had water and all that. So that's probably why.
And that's probably honestly why the quote unquote watchers are there now on the other side.
Yep.
I agree. They've had a base on the moon for a very long time.
Oh, of course.
And,
all right, so
inside the moon, I totally believe that.
all right, so I'm getting a bunch of questions. I'm just going to say, guys, thank you guys so much. We've been on for a long time. I promise you're going to absolutely love this episode. We went so deep, and really all of us brought our full passion and emotion out in this episode. So we thank you guys. We're just going to wrap up. So guys, final thoughts on this show and where we go after this.
Okay, I'd like to just start, and then Jerry can end on this. Everyone should be extremely excited about this screenplay, the series of 3 movies that we're writing right now, because we're bringing the passion of our story, primitive workers genetically being designed with latent DNA that then wake up to realize that they are Anunnaki gods themselves. This whole story of us, our story, is being made into an amazing trilogy that we're putting our passion and creativity and imagination of the wonder of the universe into this. And I think everyone is going to be blown away with how this turns out. So if we could have the support of this group fully on this, I think this project is going to succeed incredibly. And I just want to say thank you to Jerry and Jay for being part of this, because we really are making a difference. And I think that these 3 movies and everything else we're doing is going to make an impact that's going to echo in eternity here. I really believe.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Obviously, I agree. And by the way, we will get this movie done.
Movies.
Actually, you know what?
It'll be shot as one, and then it'll be a trilogy, like you said. Like that's how they do it in Hollywood, so they can save money on the production.
I don't think we're going to do it with Hollywood, buddy.
Well, how are we going to make it? But how are we going to make it a blockbuster mega budget if we don't have somebody with that deal? I mean,
I want the producer for Lucy, Luc Besson. That's what I want. I think they're on the spiritual path in describing our path about us that this movie is about, and it really.
Did you guys hear that on Facebook?
Yeah. So if somebody knows Luc Besson, let's get him on board. And anybody who's got angel investors that has more money than they know what to do with, listen.
More money than sense is what we say.
We will put it to good use, and we will take this ball to the end zone.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody out there who knows, big producer that wants to help make this happen, we are ready to go the next step on this.
Yeah, and I'll Jay Campbell this real quick. Guys, this screenplay is phenomenal. This is a big budget. This has big budget, blockbuster all over it. I'm not kidding you. I mean, I've read screenplays. I've been in Hollywood. Guys that know me, I've been an actor, blah, blah, blah. I know people in Hollywood.
I just learned that about you.
Yeah. I know people in Hollywood. I was in Forrest Gump. But I know people in Hollywood, and I've read screenplays, and I have very connected friends, and that's what they do. And I know that this thing has massive legs. So, again, if you're listening to this, obviously there'll be people on YouTube watching this too, and you can reach out to us. You have connections. Please just reach out to us. Nothing sensational or anything right now because we're definitely in the infancy, but this has massive, massive sustainability and viability.
Yeah, speaking of massive legs, we need somebody like Brock Lesnar. Can you connect with him through your crew? Sightseeing. We gotta have somebody, like Brock.
Alalu is a big dude.
Jim Brown dwarfs those guys. Jim Brown is 260.
All right. Well, maybe you can sign up because we'll.
I got enough meatheads. I got enough meatheads. Don't worry. We got enough meatheads. We just got to get it in front of the right people. All that stuff is secondary. But again, if you guys, Gerald, you want to add your final thoughts to the show? I mean, it's been amazing.
I see the influence of the alchemist working his magic through our paths, whether we see it or not. And now it's becoming so clear to me that it's like, just wake up and let's take this torch and run with it and see where it goes.
Yeah, well said.
I'm all in. I could write another book. I could do other things to go try to make a living. And we live very frugally, or we probably wouldn't be able to do something like that. So I feel really good vibes. I think this is going to happen. I'm so excited.
That's awesome, man. Well, I mean, I honestly do too. So again, if you're watching this again on YouTube, please, if you're not exposed to the Decoders of Truth group, Gerald will, of course, put the URL to that. We welcome you in. It is not a public group. It is a private group, but we're very open and friendly on our borders. So we encourage you to come in. Again, this show was I mean, honestly, I'm still kind of blown away. I don't know if it was the double dose of the Starfire Gold or just how amazing the show was, because we really talked at a deep level.
Which one are you taking, by the way? Do you take the alchemical elixir or the spagyric?
No, the alchemical elixir.
That's an M1, and for you, you're probably good with that. The other one is quite a bit stronger, just so you know. So
maybe it's time for you to upgrade to that.
I don't know. My Hermes wings might
listen, when you get to this level, if you're taking too much, it will make you hermetic. You may have trouble sleeping, just as a disclaimer.
I mean, I'm there, guys. And again, again, please support the people that make the show possible. Krista Clark, artisticvegan.com. Go to all of our websites. Again, we're not going to pitch Matt's book. If you haven't read Matt's book, The Suppression of Us.
The Illusion of Us.
The Illusion of Us. I'm sorry. The Suppression of Human Consciousness. His book is phenomenal. Of course, Gerald's books. Again, guys, you have to read these books. These are seminal works to truly understand conscious expansion. You cannot really go to the seeking level that you need to go or want to go without understanding these books. So again, support them. And clearly this is, as Gerald just says, this is highly resonating with a lot of people right now. I don't see this stopping. If there's any way that you can reach out to us and you feel like you can help us in another way, and there's a million different vehicles and avenues I'm sure this can go, please don't hesitate. Reach out to us.
Well said.
Awesome,
Thank
guys.
Must be great. My truth brothers, and I look